Hi, this is Anna V. Eskamani, and I'm proud to be the State House Representative for District 47 in the Florida House. We are in Tallahassee right now, and I'm deeply sorry that I can't join you today. Our schedules are pretty unpredictable while we're in legislative session, and I have to be on the House floor in about 30 minutes. I got booked for a meeting to focus on one of the other big fights we have here in Florida, and that's on LGBTQ equality. And so I wish I could join today, but I did still want to contribute to the conversation because I think it's critically important that we talk about criminal justice reform, especially in the areas of solitary confinement. Here in Florida, we have one of the most horrific criminal justice systems in the country. Not only is the school to prison pipeline very real, but we also see mandatory minimums put folks into prison for very long sentences that don't often reflect what the type of experience for restorative justice should be. At the same time, these type of practices have led to a population of 96,000 people incarcerated, which of course is going to lead to a large number of prisons, and unfortunately in our case, underfunded prisons, which leads to cases of abuse. And we see sexual exploitation within the incarcerated. We see correctional officers exhibiting abuse towards the incarcerated. And there's also cases of violence within the prisons between folks that are serving their time. It's a really wicked system that is perpetuated by the school to prison pipeline, by having too many folks who are in prison who shouldn't really be in prison. But unfortunately, the issue is compounded when you have correctional officers that are underpaid, inexperienced, really creating a cycle of abuse it's hard to stop. And in the meantime, people losing their lives and family members are experiencing more trauma than they already have. So we feel really committed to solving this problem in more ways than one. And we actually have been visiting state prisons across the state of Florida. As a state lawmaker, we can visit prisons unannounced. And so we've taken into our responsibility to do that. We visited several prisons, talking to the correctional officers, but also the incarcerated, and really trying to get a grasp of personal experiences and what can we do to make the environment within our prisons healthier and safer. And a part of that ties back to solitary confinement. So we understand solitary confinement to be the physical isolation of people in their cells for 22 to 24 hours a day. Many people are kept in solitary confinement for more than 15 days, which the United Nations has actually deemed to be torture. I don't have to tell this group already, but I will mention that solitary confinement causes instances of anxiety, depression, and psychosis. Rates of suicide are much, much higher in solitary confinement compared to the general population. And of course, this detrimentally impacts people of color. Time and time again, we see that even when it comes to incarceration, there's an imbalance, a disparity when it comes to more people of color being incarcerated than not. But also in the solitary confinement, we see disparities along racial lines exist as well. Among young people, Florida has actually had a really dark history with solitary confinement, and there has been Supreme Court decision saying that Florida cannot be treating young people, our juveniles, in this way, that we cannot be practicing such acts like solitary confinement on our young people. And I've also had the honor to visit our young people in different juvenile justice settings, and the conditions are already poor, let alone an act of solitary confinement, creating an even a greater experience of trauma, which means when it comes to a young person leaving the prison system, ending that cycle becomes more difficult because the trauma that they're being inflicted upon, even when they're in this environment where they're supposed to be able to actually learn from past decisions and continue to contribute to society. So with that said, as a lawmaker in the Florida legislature, and I was just elected in 2018, so I'm in my first 2 years and running for office again in 2020, we've really taken criminal justice reform as one of our main issues, and really trying to find bipartisanship on solving these problems, because the reality is that the issues around our prison systems, they transcend party lines. Prisons don't see party ID. Any individual can experience the criminal justice system, just whatever their party affiliation may be. And it's really important that we work across the aisle and try to solve these problems. I will say there's always this fear of looking soft on crime by mostly our Republican colleagues, which makes it more challenging to pass reform to find these solutions. We have filed several bills, and we've co-sponsored even more bills. around issues impacting criminal justice reform and specifically solitary confinement. One of the bills that we've co-sponsored is House Bill 165, which would prohibit Department of Corrections or our local governments from subjecting a youth to solitary confinement. So it actually would completely prohibit solitary confinement for young people. It limits any type of cell confinement for youth prisoners and provides them protection when it comes to emergency cell confinements if they do need that. It also customizes suicide prevention plans and intervention plans for young people, and it ensures that a young person who is in a disciplinary cell is allotted services and other benefits to ensure that we're not causing more damage to their ability to grow from their experience and get back to everyday life. Unfortunately, this bill, though it has several co-sponsors, never saw a hearing in the Florida legislature, and so it continues to be an issue that we have to keep emphasizing. And I just want to stress to folks, too, that when it comes to criminal justice reform, it's so important that we ground ourselves in personal stories. And whether you've experienced a criminal justice system or have loved ones who have, or visited prisons, have worked with different incarcerated populations in different contexts, it's really important that we uplift the stories of those directly impacted, to paint the risks and honestly the facts around how solitary confinement does not work to reduce crime. It does not work to reduce disciplinary behavior. It's dangerous and detrimental. It can lead to suicide and can actually make someone who is acting in a certain way continue to act in that way versus finding a path for restorative justice. And so we continue to do our part to support criminal justice efforts and to reduce the incarcerated population in Florida, but to also ensure that when it comes to all of our incarcerated population, but especially our young people, that solitary confinement is not something that is practiced, and that we move away from this archaic and really dangerous type of approach. And so with that, I hope you all have a wonderful dialogue today, and you can always find us and reach us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, On It for Florida with 2 N's. Keep in touch, and I hope to catch up with everyone soon.